Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back. Okay, always locked in, now I don't got time to lax. Saying he the best, he could take a lap. That at 1,000 when you check the stats. Boy, is you ready? You ain't gotta ask. I just really hit the field. I just really hit the field. I just really hit the field.
Welcome to another edition of the Hitting the Field podcast. It is your host, Jeremy Brener, and today we're talking a little bit of basketball. What's today? We're talking about basketball, and we're also talking basketball and basketball and more basketball. And here to help me talk some basketball today are my two dudes on my left. I always struggle with how to introduce y'all, how to hype y'all up. So I'm gonna let y'all hype y'all up. Armond, give yourself some hype.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. I'm just happy to be here again. Actually, this is my.
Is this your first one?
This is my second one.
Okay.
I haven't done this podcast since the very first one.
The very first one. So the OG coming back.
So just happy to be back.
So the OG, Armond Sarduy. How about that?
Yeah. It sounds good. It sounds like you're the Miami Heat announcer.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
I love that guy. I think he's real good at what he does. I respect him. What's his name? Do we know?
I have no clue.
All right, we got to look that up then. Yeah. All right. And then we got the man in the middle, Mr. Chris Wolf. Christopher. How you doing, man?
Good. NBA.
NBA. NBA. NBA. NBA. How about that?
Yeah. We got to do that, and then let's talk some basketball. We had some huge games last night.
Some basketball. I think that we would be completely and absolutely mistaken and just totally not cool if we didn't start off by talking about Luka and what he did last night. 35-point triple-double, the fastest triple-double in NBA history. And they beat the Warriors, which, it's the Warriors. It's the worst team in the league right now, which is hard to believe considering I did say on the NBA preview show, I will admit it, I said the Warriors were going to win the NBA championship this year. I'm a little off on that estimation, but let's talk about Luka here in the Mavericks and what they've been able to do. Armond, give me a number, top 5, top 10, top 3. Where is Luka here in the NBA right now?
He's at least a top 5 player in my opinion.
Top 5.
Yep. He's up there with Giannis, LeBron, Harden, Kawhi at least.
So he's better than LeBron?
He's like white baby LeBron. The thing is that he's showing signs of greatness. He was doing this last season, and now he just took it another level. Even though the Warriors are not that good this year, you're still playing against. You're still a professional basketball team. You're still a professional basketball player. If any of those Warriors players, played in the outside of the NBA, they'll probably be the best player on that court. But Luka, in my opinion, he's the top candidate for MVP right now. The things he's doing at the age of 20 is phenomenal. The only person that's done this type of thing is LeBron when he first got into the league, and that says a lot.
And look at where he ended up. Chris, Luka Doncic, is he your MVP for the first quarter-ish of the season?
I believe he is, because he is, when you talk about value, he's the main scorer, he's the main rebounder, he's the main assist guy, and he does everything. And not only does he do everything, he also can defend. He shoots the 3-ball well. He can get to the free throw line. He has the whole package. And if I'm comparing the body of work he's put in with others like LeBron or Antetokounmpo or James Harden, I'm just seeing a different dimension than those people this season. And he's only 20 years old. I'm just looking at this. This dude's averaging 30, 10, and 9 at 20 years old.
Yeah.
That is just even LeBron wasn't even putting out those numbers at 20 years old.
It makes you think what he will be able to do in 2 years from now when he'll be 22. Makes you think, oh, what's going to happen in 4 years from now when he's 24? And then when he's approaching his, prime, when he's like in his late 20s, like, where is the ceiling for this dude? Is there a ceiling?
He may still be playing. He's just getting started. I mean, he might have at least 18 years left in the league, and that's just that's scary to think that this guy is this good, and he might still be playing. He might still have nearly 2 decades left to play,
which is crazy to think about it. Armond,
yeah.
Luka. We can look at Luka now, and we can think, look at what's his future. But I want to talk about this season right now. So Dallas, their win last night. They're now 9-5.
Yep.
They sit 5th in the West.
Yep.
Is this team a contender this year?
For a championship, no, but they're a definite playoff team.
Can they win a playoff series this year?
Yes.
Yes.
But in terms of NBA championship, no. I know Porzingis. I know he just come back from ACL injury. He's still this is like kind of still like his rehab year, just trying to get the rust off and the flow of things.
Yeah, he's averaging 18 and 9.
Right, and that's come off of ACL injury. Yeah, that's crazy.
And he is now just turning 24.
Right.
I mean, and then Tim Hardaway last night, 20 points.
Right.
I mean, I think they are like one piece away from being like a real threat to people, and it could come. They could develop one of these people. I could see possibly like a Jalen Brunson working into the backcourt there, like try to work something out there. I think Jalen Brunson has a lot of potential, especially I think he's in a really good spot right now. He's got veterans that are there for him, and that's I think a part of why Luka's doing so well. Luka ended up in the perfect situation for him, and I think because he has the veterans. He had the year with Dirk last year. He has JJ Barea on the roster. Did you see what happened with JJ Barea last night?
He tried to
check in the game, and Luka lost it, but but he's got like JJ Barea there. Courtney Lee is there. Right. He's an established NBA veteran himself. And there's and Rick Carlisle who, I see him in almost the same light as Eric Spoelstra, kind of coaches that get overlooked. They're not like the flashiest guys, but they have proven that they can win. And I think that's a big reason why this team is ahead of its curve. And we're looking at them, you thought Luka coming in, maybe they're a team that can contend in 2021, 2022. They're ahead of the curve now because Carlisle is developing these players the right way. What do y'all think about that?
I mean, honestly, to that, Luka, the way he came from Europe, so just think about how he's
been a professional for a while.
Yeah, so think about how they play over there. Now think about that, and think about, is there like 20 more Lukas in Europe? Like, this
oh my goodness.
So I'm saying, just think about that.
I mean, very true.
If he's playing like that in his second year, think about the next Luka Doncic, or think about the next Kristaps, or think about the next Jokic.
Yeah,
that's just crazy. I mean, the thing is that we have the NBA has changed so much. You got players from overseas dominating the league, and it's just crazy. But going back to your point about the Dallas Mavericks, they after that championship in 2011. It started declining a little bit, and they started rebuilding kind of quietly, and then now they're what top now they're number 5 in the Western Conference. Mm-hmm. So the thing is,
granted, it's still very early in the season,
right.
And they're 3 games back of first, but they're also 3 games away from being the 10th best team in the West. So it's still very and I don't like to look at standings this early in the season mostly, but I do think that it just shows where teams are now. I don't think anyone is really out of it yet. I mean, look at the bottom 3 teams in the West right now. I think it's safe to say Golden State is not going to be a playoff team this year, but Portland and San Antonio are, 13 and 14 at 5 and 10. They're only 3 games back of the 8th spot. That's crazy to think about this. Look at this. The 2 teams that were in the Western Conference Finals 6 months ago are the worst two teams in the West now. Isn't that crazy to think about? Like, the two best teams from 6 months ago are now the two worst teams.
Oh, that's just ridiculous. I mean, that's crazy to think. I mean, that's so much talent too on both teams. I mean, I know Golden State's dealing with injuries to like almost all their stars, but that's 5 straight finals, and now you're worst in the league. I mean, you go from top. Who were you first to 30?
I mean, I think it's safe to say though that none of this team that Golden State put out last night, they only put out 8 players last night, and none of them were playing in the finals last year. Zero of them played in the finals last year.
Like talent on the team. I mean, they're like, what, 3-13?
3-13.
They're 3-13. I like talent, though. I like the talent. I think this could be a good... this could be a blessing in disguise because you know Steph and Klay aren't really going to play this season much. I feel like Draymond's going to be on a restriction because, I mean, you know they're going to be...
They might shut down Draymond.
He might play some. He might play some. D'Angelo Russell, I don't believe he's going to be on the team next year. I feel like
really?
I think at some point,
trade him?
At some point, maybe either in the summer or sometime next year. I don't think he stays because I just think I don't know. I don't know if it really fits like what they want to do with 3 guards. Maybe.
Well, maybe if you think about it, if they're really tanking, maybe they flip him at the deadline or something this year.
You could flip him for some
like a first round pick,
first rounder. Get 2. Because, I mean, I know you're in the James Wiseman conversation. I mean, you need a big. I mean, that's the one position that they're actually really lacking. And why not get the best big in the country? I mean, if you can. I mean,
the Tim Duncan effect.
Just do
the
that.
Spurs were the best team in the 90s. They leave out, they dip out for 1 year. Go get Tim Duncan and go win 3-4 more finals.
I feel like that could be the case because you're gonna get Steph back, you're gonna get Klay back, Draymond back. I mean, you can have a player like that. You're gonna be back on the top of the West.
It's true.
I'm not gonna say they're gonna be the favorite, but they definitely will be a top 4 team in the West because you still have Clippers, Lakers, and then obviously the Mavericks are coming up. Rockets will still be there. Denver's on the come up, but you have the experience of Golden State.
Yeah.
That's what is the key. They have the experience. And as much as, like, I love to say talent is great, experience triumphs talent in some places early on in careers. Like, teams could be, you could be like, oh, this team's more talented. This team's more experienced. They know what to do. And they just get it done late in games. Like, when you keep games close, they can get it done late. So I don't think this might be like a 25-30 win year at most, but I think this actually will be good for them.
Yeah. So the second game that was nationally televised last night, Clippers Celtics, quite the game, I would say. Caught the highlights this morning, and I think if I'm not mistaken, that's the first time both Kawhi and Paul George played together, and the result that we got out of it, I'd say it was they passed their first test. Would you agree with that statement, Armond?
Absolutely. Kawhi did what Kawhi did. Paul George did what Paul George did. The thing is that at the last play, Kawhi blocked Kemba Walker's shot. Mm-hmm. Right. A couple plays before that, he dunked on Theis. That started that Clippers run, and they took the lead. And the things that I said this in the NBA preview show a couple Mondays ago. The Clippers are, forget their record. Mm-hmm. They're in my eyes, they're top 2 in the Western Conference behind the Lakers. I mean, it's gonna be close. When the playoffs start and they play each other in the playoffs, I can't wait for those. I can't wait for that series because it's gonna be exciting.
The NBA's dream, right there, is to have Clippers Lakers Western Conference Finals. Yeah, I think. I think from this game, it was the Clippers at full strength for the first time, really figuring out what is up with them.
Right.
Playing a really good team in Boston, arguably the best team in the East so far this season, and they held their own. And that's the thing is, this was their first time playing together. Imagine they get a couple of months under their belt where they get the chemistry finally going. Because I think last night, I mean, Kawhi Leonard only 17 points. I mean, granted, he was I think not everything was shown in the box score as to how he played. I think what you saw, like that 17 points doesn't really do him justice as to what he did on the defensive end.
Right.
And that's the thing also is because Kawhi's there, and like I think last year in Toronto with Kawhi, he had Siakam, he had Kyle Lowry, which those aren't like offensive powerhouses. At least, Siakam wasn't a powerhouse last year in terms of offense. But this year you have Paul George. And that is a very unique pairing because it allows Paul George to be the offensive catalyst. And Kawhi Leonard, I mean, I think he's a great offensive player. I think he proved that. But his strength is more on the defensive end.
Right.
He's a stronger defensive player than he's an offensive player.
No.
So I think this is going to give him a chance to really focus more attention on just being a lockdown defender. And that won them the game last night.
Right. And the thing is that like, not only can Kawhi defend, everyone else can too. Patrick Beverley can defend. Paul George can defend. Lou Williams can defend. Montrezl Harrell can defend. Zubac can defend. Everyone on that team can defend. And then as well as, contribute on the opposite end. And that's the thing that wins championships is that you have to do it on both sides of the ball.
They gave up 104 points with overtime last night.
Right.
So 53 minutes of basketball, they only gave up 104 points, which in this NBA is nearly unheard of. We had 150 points given up in a regular season game multiple times this year. So,
and the crazy thing is when Kawhi is out with his, load management and PG came back, his shoulders were looking fine. He was dropping like 30 points, during
20 minutes.
Yeah. And 2 games. And it was crazy. And then the thing is that yesterday ESPN talked about how Kawhi and Paul George didn't even fully practice together yet. Wait till they fully practice together and learn what they could do. And both of them are healthy. That is crazy.
Sky's the limit.
We're not even in December yet.
Yeah.
And it's like, what else can the Clippers do that, that have doubters and like, yeah, they have Kawhi and PG, but, what about everybody else? Last night showed what everybody else can do. Yeah, Lou Williams coming off the bench, score almost 30 points. And you had Patrick Beverley hitting corner three-pointers, to ice the game.
That's his role.
That's what I'm saying.
That's his role, and he does very well.
So the thing is that every person on that team is a dog. They're gritty.
Yeah.
They go after their tenacity. They have tenacity, effort, and that's the thing that wins championships.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Clippers or Lakers? Who's better right now?
Oh, man.
I mean, the Lakers are the number one team in terms of record. But
offensively, I'll have to say the Lakers. But defensively, I'll have to say the Clippers.
And I mean, the Clippers beat the Lakers earlier in the year.
Right.
Granted, the Clippers weren't even at full strength.
Right.
And granted, the Lakers, I would say they're a better team now than they were on day one of the regular season.
I'll say this though. I think the Lakers figured themselves out, but the Clippers are still trying to figure themselves out, and they're only at 10-5 at the moment. Imagine when they do figure themselves out.
Now, let me ask you this: would a Clippers-Lakers series in the playoffs actually hurt the Clippers? Because in a way, you're giving the Lakers 7 home games. Because look, I don't care about the Clippers being in LA too. LA is still a Lakers town. Okay. And I don't care. Recent success doesn't really matter to me. You have LeBron, you have the Lakers dynasty franchise, all of that behind you. LA will never, even if the Clippers win a championship, LA is always going to belong to the Lakers. You don't agree with that, Chris, or what?
I agree with that it belongs to the Lakers. I don't think it's going to hurt them. Because I feel like you're
playing 7 true road games.
I feel like they have dogs on that team. They don't listen to the noise. They look at all that like, okay, we accept the challenge. They have players like that. Kawhi Leonard, you saw in the playoffs, he won 3 of his 4. Remember, the Toronto Raptors won in the finals last year. Kawhi Leonard, they won 3 of their 4 games on the road at Golden State. And Paul George, he has something to prove. Like. He's like, because people keep saying, oh, he's a superstar, but he isn't that. it factor, maybe.
That's fair.
And you have Patrick Beverley. That might be the scrappiest player in the entire league. He won't back down to anybody, no matter how big somebody is. I mean, he's 6 feet tall, guarding maybe 6'1". He's guarding like 6'9", 6'10" players, like one-on-one. It's like, I think, I don't think it will hurt them. Obviously, yes, the Lakers do get a beneficial because, like, oh, they get more of a home crowd. But I think they will. I think they accept the challenge. I still expect 7 games. So,
I mean, honestly, I don't think it matters. It doesn't matter to Kawhi. It doesn't matter to Paul George. The only thing they want to do is beat the person in front of them. And that's LeBron James and Anthony Davis.
I think when Kawhi and Paul George came to LA, they realized they knew both of them had options to go to the Lakers. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily together, but they both had options to go to the Lakers in their career, and they chose the Clippers. And I think they chose the Clippers mainly because they wanted to start their own legacy. They didn't want a legacy. They didn't want to continue the legacy of the Lakers. They wanted to create something with the Clippers, and I think they're doing that.
Not only that, they didn't want to continue the legacy with LeBron James, because you're going to hear LeBron and Kawhi, LeBron and Paul George.
I mean, I'm talking about even before LeBron was even with the Lakers.
Right.
How Paul George had doors to go to the Lakers for years. Yeah. So it could. I mean, I think what they're doing is they want to create something on their own.
I mean, I think I learned about this yesterday. Paul George actually, when he requested a trade from Indiana, the first team on his list was San Antonio,
where it's just where Kawhi was playing.
Right. So they've been wanting to play together.
Yeah. And
it finally happened. You know, and then it finally happened in their home state of California. Yeah. So the things that the media and all that don't even know what players are talking about. You know what I'm saying, amongst themselves. Same thing with Kawhi. Same thing with not Kawhi, Kyrie and Kevin Durant. They were talking about playing with each other for a long time, and it finally happened. Mm-hmm. So the things that Paul George and Kawhi, they do care about legacy, but on their own terms, and they want to beat. And then it'll look so good if they beat LeBron in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Well, like, you know, LeBron is, in my opinion, you know, he's in my top 5 of all time, and if they beat him in the playoffs, it'll look really good in their legacy. And the same, if they beat him the same season, and they win the championship that season, then
because then you're looking at this. If the Clippers win a championship before the Lakers do, that's 3 rings for Kawhi with 3 different teams,
back-to-back years.
In back-to-back years, if it happens this year, and LeBron's got 3 rings. Now, I'm not saying Kawhi's better than LeBron, but I mean, if your metric is rings, that's 3 and 3.
I mean,
you're even.
Kawhi already beat LeBron already.
Yeah, and Kawhi's got a lot more time. Kawhi would have won his 3rd ring way before LeBron did, because LeBron won his 3rd ring in his 30s. But Kawhi, I don't even think is 30 yet.
Nah, I think he's at least 28, 29.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me look it up. I'm curious. But yeah, I mean, he is 28.
Yep.
He'll be 29 in June.
Yep.
So he's got time. He's got time, and he's got, I think, a clearer path. But I kind of want to shift from the Clippers now to the Lakers. Mm. Lakers did not play last night. They don't play tonight, but they did recently beat the Thunder by 5. They won by 5 on the second half of the Thunder's LA back-to-back. That's for any team that has an LA back-to-back this year. God bless them. That is a terrible back-to-back.
I give a shout out to Thunder. They kept both games close.
They did, and the fact, look,
I've actually been a little impressed.
The LA back-to-back has always been a thing, but it's never been like, you beat the Lakers one night, you maybe struggle against the Clippers, or it's vice versa. But this year, the LA back-to-back is the Hawks had to do it. They got 150 dropped on them by the Clippers, and then they lost to the Lakers the next night. That was this past weekend. The Thunder did it too, and they kept the games close, but they were unable to get the job done. But now the Lakers sit 12-2, best record in the league. They go play the Thunder tomorrow night again. So I think. So where do you see this Lakers team right now? And LeBron, because LeBron's having an incredible year to start off, almost like a renaissance.
I think they're a little ahead. I think they're a little ahead this season. 'Cause I didn't think they were going to start this well this season. I thought they'd have a little bit of a bumpy start because you're having to acclimate two number one options together that hadn't played with each other before, and AD and LeBron. Like they both like having the ball in their hands. So I was like, okay, maybe it took a little bit of time. LeBron is staying true to his word that he's going to let AD be the number one option. And he's staying true to it because LeBron's scoring has dipped a little, like 24 points a game. But that's still really great. But his assists are up to 11, which leads the league.
Which leads the league.
He leads the league by a decent margin for assists per game. AD is the leading scorer on the team. He's averaging over 25, and he has over 10 boards a game. I mean, but it's also my biggest takeaway is the role players. The role players are playing very well.
They are.
Dwight Howard might be one of the top 5 signings of this offseason.
Comeback player of the year?
I mean, he might. The numbers might not say. He's averaging maybe like 5 points, 7 boards a game.
7 and 7.
7, which he's only playing like 15, 20
pretty
minutes
good
a game.
for someone who's playing,
15,
not
20
much.
Minutes? But he's
He
shooting
played
over
17 minutes the other night.
Shooting over 70% from the floor.
Yep.
So it's like...
I mean, it's mostly dunks, but...
He's doing what he's supposed to do
Exactly.
off the bench.
He's playing his role.
And he's not being a distraction.
No.
That's the thing. That was the biggest thing, was the distraction part. And he's been a hard worker, great backup, and that's like... They've won 12 of the last 13 games.
Yeah.
Like, that's really good. I mean, JaVale McGee's been good this year. The bigs have been good. The shooting has been good. Danny Green's been hitting his threes this year. I mean... I think the fan favorite Alex Caruso, he got his
8 points on Tuesday.
He's another bench player that's been pretty good. Avery Bradley's been also good too.
Armond, is there something that this Lakers team is missing?
I think more of outside shooting a little bit. I think they're missing a little bit of that. Other than that, I don't really see any flaws with them right now. The only thing that could stop them is injury, God forbid. But the thing is that LeBron told AD, it's just crazy how the NBA works. When LeBron came to Miami, Dwayne Wade said, "This is your team." When AD came to the Lakers, LeBron says, "This is your team." You know what I'm saying? LeBron took a step back.
Yeah.
LeBron still doing LeBron
Took
things.
a page out of D Wade's playbook.
Right. LeBron's still doing what LeBron does, but the thing is that this is AD's team. When LeBron decides to retire, a couple years down the road, AD's going to be in the face of the franchise when he leaves. So the thing is that the Lakers, they figured themselves out. They know what want to do. They know what they want to do on offense and defensive end. And honestly, you kind of got to give credit to Frank Vogel a little bit too.
Yeah, I think he's like the one person that's being overlooked in this whole operation.
I mean,
he's figured this out pretty quickly.
Right. I mean, when he was with Indiana, every year they made the playoffs. They were a great defensive team, and the Lakers are doing just that.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is that, I don't really see any flaws with them right now. I mean, like I said, the only thing that could stop them right now is injuries. But you think about it. You think about the roster last year compared to this year. The Lakers last year could have made the playoffs if LeBron didn't get hurt in the Christmas Day game against the Warriors. They were sitting at 3rd seed. They could have finished either 3rd, 4th, 5th seed, but now they're the no 1 seed if the playoffs started right now, and the West has to go through the Lakers if this playoff started right now. So that's how I see it.
Yeah, I think. So here's what I want to pose to y'all. The Lakers. Who's in the driver's seat right now? Is it the Lakers or is it the Clippers? Or is it someone else?
In the month of November, I would have to say the Lakers. Things might change after Christmas Day.
Exactly. Whoever's in the driver's seat on November 21st might not necessarily be in the driver's seat on November 22nd. I mean, or December 25th, or April.
It's a long
June.
It's a long 82 game season. I mean, you're gonna have skids along the way. You might have like a 6-game road trip, and you might win 2 out of those 6 games. You never know. A key player might get injured.
That's the thing we haven't seen yet. The only team that's really been bit by the injury bug, if out of the teams that were contenders before the beginning of the season, I would say is Golden State.
Yeah.
I think you can make the argument that I guess the Clippers have had a bit of the injury bug, but they're healthy now. Yeah. And they've recovered nicely. They were okay without Paul George. They were okay without Kawhi Leonard. And I mean, you can also, I guess, make the case that I mean, I guess you really can't make the case for anyone else with the injury bug. I mean, Houston's been pretty banged up, but James Harden's been playing. Russell Westbrook hasn't been injured yet.
Yep.
He's taken a couple games off because they don't want him playing back-to-backs, which I'm okay with. But yeah, I mean, I think the injury bug is going to bite someone real soon. And that is going to be the first unfortunate part of this NBA season. I think, because I said it before the season began, and I'll say it again. This season is going to come down to matchups, who gets hot, and who stays healthy. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that we can for sure know at this point in the season is who stays healthy. And right now, any team that's healthy is in the conversation, and that's LA, Denver, Houston, Clippers, Dallas, Utah, Boston, Milwaukee, Miami. We'll talk about Miami a little later. Toronto, you can even argue Philly. And then Indiana doesn't even have Victor Oladipo back. Masked Singer champion Victor Oladipo.
Yeah.
So that could play a role as well. So I want to shift gears a little bit because there was a game last night that should have gotten, I think, a little more attention than it did. But the Nuggets hosted the Rockets and snapped Houston's 8-game win streak, 105-95. The Rockets' first loss in over 2 weeks. They had the longest win streak at the time. That distinction now belongs to the LA Lakers with 5 and the Bucks with 5. So I want Armond, I want your take on the Rockets and how they have, progressed over the last 2 weeks. And I don't necessarily think last night was like a step back, because I think they played a really good team in a really difficult situation. But how has this Rockets team been able to turn it around after their poor start?
I mean, the thing is that it's pretty much every season type thing, but how has Harden been?
Like, what we saw last year from Harden was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's duplicating that now is crazy.
Yeah. The thing is that the offense will always be built for Harden. I mean, everyone else is involved, but the way he gets his points is through that offense. And the things that it's been like that for, since he's been in his season's been the member of the Houston Rockets. The things that I thought that, Russ being on a team now will affect his scoring a little bit, but it hasn't. He's still doing those step back.
Having 38 a game.
Right. He's still doing those step back threes, and he's still getting to the line at a crazy rate. Mm-hmm. The thing is that can the conversation every year is can this type of play elevate the Rockets to a conference championship or NBA Finals matchup with someone from the Eastern Conference? The thing is that I still don't see it at the moment, because when teams are going to figure out to neutralize James Harden, and they're going to force everyone else to play, and I don't know if that system works, but I just have to say it only works for one player, and that's James Harden.
Yeah, so the pace this year is the one big difference between the Rockets from this year and the Rockets of last year. Last year, they were one of the 5 slowest teams in the NBA. This year, they're one of the top 5 fastest teams in the NBA. They're getting 8 more possessions per game, which means 8 more chances to score. And if you put 3 more points on each of those possessions, that's 24 more points per game that you could possibly get, which, increases your chances of winning, because most games in the NBA are decided by 24 points or less. So I think with the Rockets, their scoring was up. And I think that teams got this idea of the Rockets when they saw that they beat the Wizards in that ridiculous 159-158 win. And they're like, oh, this team has no defense. This team is, they only care about points, all that. Well, then that was part of a 3-game road trip. They lost the next 2 games on that road trip to Brooklyn and Miami by 29 points. ever since that point, they went 8-1, including last night with the loss, and they were the number 1 defensive team since then. They gave up 129 points to Miami that night, and since then they've been the number 1 defensive team. So these myths about their poor defense have been dispelled now. They have a stretch of solid defense, but Chris, I want to ask you, the defense might be better, but is this pace of play going to hurt them when the game slows down when it matters most?
I think it could, because you also need to think they're playing James Harden and Russell Westbrook a lot of minutes too, and when you play at a higher pace, tend to maybe run out of gas, but that could lead to you running out of gas a little bit later. I mean, a little bit earlier than you usually do, and that would be my one concern, because James Harden played 37 minutes last night. Westbrook 35, Capella 35. The only player on the bench to play more than 16 minutes. They only play one player on the bench to play more than 16 minutes. So
yeah,
it's
the bench has been the biggest.
That's my problem.
The bench has been the biggest red flag, I think, for me. I think that Eric Gordon didn't play in this game, and Eric Gordon's out probably until Christmas. Mm-hmm. So he would have changed that bench, I feel. But it's this team, I think this team is a much more realized vision than the team that we saw last year, which is a great sign. I think that this team is better than the team that lost last year in the Western Conference semis. Mm-hmm. The only problem is that everyone else in the West got better.
Yeah,
and the Lakers are better. The Clippers are better. The Nuggets, I feel like, are better, and I do want to flip to the Nuggets in a little bit. But the teams around, like the competition in the West, is just improved. Which, from last year, thinking that is redonkulous. But let's talk about Denver here. Denver, I think, has been a team that's flown under the radar just because they're the one team this offseason that didn't exactly pull a new flashy acquisition. They kind of are running it back. They added Jeremy Grant, but they're continuing to do their thing. They're 10-3. They're the second best team in the West. Is this Denver team someone that people should why is it so easy for teams to overlook Denver?
Small market. Not big market. They don't have any flashy players. Jokic is a superstar, but he's not flashy. He just does it the old school way, slow. He likes to post. And the thing is, his usage rate is just ridiculous. He has the ball in his hand so much, and it's very unique to have a 7+ foot big be having so much usage rate. And you also have players like Jamal Murray, Gary Harris.
Jamal Murray dropped 39 a couple nights ago.
Yeah, he's just a dynamic scorer, can play some deep.
He can explode for one of those games every once in a while.
And veteran and Paul Millsap. And their bench is really good. Jeremy Grant
I think it's the best bench in the West.
And we're not even talking about Michael Porter.
Yeah.
What if he is able to get in this rotation and be what he was supposed to be doing?
They're bringing him along slowly.
He's had some good games. Yeah, he doesn't play every night. But some games he's had a couple of really good scoring games. He shows the potential offensively. He can shoot the lights out of that ball. And when he's healthy, and if he can just stay healthy, he was supposed to be a top 3 pick.
Yeah,
last year.
Armond, Denver, second in the West, just beat a Rockets team that won 8 straight. Would it be a mistake to overlook this Denver team, or are they not on that same level as the LA teams?
I have to agree with Chris on this one. I think they don't have the same market as the other LA teams.
Is that so? Let me get this straight.
Yeah.
So is the market the reason why? I'm gonna agree with y'all.
Yeah.
The market is the reason why they are being overlooked. But take the cities out of it, take the markets out of it. Just look at the team on paper, or look at the team just on the court. Is Denver is there a legitimate argument for Denver being better than either of these LA teams?
There could be. The thing is that no one wants to watch them play at a 10:30 Eastern time game. I'd rather see LA or
Exactly.
Houston.
I mean, like this game was an important game last night. These
right.
two teams were
Right.
two 10-win teams, and I mean, but you got Boston and LA were playing at the same time, so not a whole lot of people got to catch it.
Right. But what I'm saying is, the other thing that I'm saying is that they're a very talented team. We know this. It's just that Kawhi and LeBron bring the viewers. They bring the ad revenue, all that type of stuff. But the thing is that when it comes down to like when it comes down to the NBA and Western Conference teams like Denver, it's a make or miss. It's a make or miss league.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And they were like a number one seed in the Western Conference a couple of seasons ago, and
they were number 2 last year.
Number 2 last year. So the thing is that this Denver team is being overlooked because they're not in a very sexy market, I guess you could say. But that doesn't mean they shouldn't be overlooked. Yeah, I mean the thing is that they're respected enough, on paper to be a very talented team, but they're not respected enough to have all these type of primetime games on ESPN or maybe TNT sometimes. But the thing is that when the playoffs come around, they will be a very dangerous team like they've always been. Sometimes it's crazy to me to think about that because imagine when you look at Denver 10 years ago or like 12 years ago when they had Melo, Chauncey Billups, Birdman, J.R. Smith. It's just like they were.
That was the closest team to the finals that any of the Nuggets team has ever.
But
gone
back
before,
back then they were a big market team. But now
because they had Carmelo Anthony, who was one of the top 5-10 noticeable players in the game.
So that kind of it surprises me a little because Denver was a big market then. How come they're not a big market now?
Yeah,
and it could be the type of players that they have. I mean, they have Jokic, he's a superstar. Jamal Murray's superstar as well. I don't know, he just got paid big in the offseason. Yeah. But like again, they don't have like the flashy players like they have like AD. They don't have the ADs or the LeBrons or the PGs or the Lou Williams or the Kawhi Leonards or the Dames or the Stephs.
Yeah.
But when it comes time to it, to get the work done, and that matters.
And that's how small market teams have to succeed because LA, the Lakers, they took advantage of their market and they got LeBron to come. They got Anthony Davis to come. The Clippers, same thing. They got Kawhi to come. They got Paul George to come. Denver doesn't have that luxury. So they have to build through the draft, make shrewd acquisitions, and play the hand they got, and they've done that. So I think that they do deserve to be on the same level as the Lakers and the Clippers, and they shouldn't be taken lightly. But I do want to focus back to the East because we have spoken about the West for 40 minutes now. We got about a little less than 20 minutes left to talk about the East, which I think is sort of indicative as to how the NBA is right now. The West deserves 2/3 of our attention, and the East deserves 1/3. But a team that really should take our breath away, our attention, is the Miami Heat. 305 degrees. You guys are both Heat fans, so I'm going to let y'all take this one. Miami won last night.
Yep.
Pretty convincingly. 124-120. What are y'all's is this Miami team at its ceiling?
No.
And that's
it's
scary.
It's
that's
crazy
scary.
To think. It's this oh man, it's just this Heat team is just terrific. I mean, the things that they get it done on both sides of the ball. They have 3-point shooters. They could get it done in the paint as well. And the thing is that like Jimmy Butler had a bad game, and he still dropped
21 points for Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, and they still
3 of 16 from the field.
Right, he had statistically speaking, he had a bad game on the field. Mm-hmm. The thing is that if he had a bad game and he still dropped 129 points, I know it's against the Cavs, but still.
That's 7 players in double figures.
Right.
They shot from 3, 19 of 37. That's better than 50%. So I mean, that is their strength, and they're utilizing that, and they're letting that be a tool to beat their opponent.
Right, and then I think that right now we're sitting at number 3 in the East right now.
Currently number 3 in the East at 10-3,
right? Which
would make you that's a top 5 record in the West in the league right now.
Yeah, it's just crazy because this type of start I never dreamed of this type of start. I know that we're trying to figure
the LeBron teams. I don't even think ever got to a start like this.
No, when in LeBron's first season, we went
they were like 6 and 7 or something like that.
7 and 6,
yeah.
And they had a players only meeting, and then they figured themselves out, and then they started winning. Mm-hmm. The thing is that like this Heat team, they're so young as well. I know, and we don't have a legit super. I know Jimmy Butler, he's an all-star, but he's not a legit superstar.
I think, yeah.
And this team was built for him. This team was built for what he wants to do. And the thing is that this team could potentially, make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I was talking to some friends yesterday. They believe that, they could possibly make the NBA Finals. I know it's a long stretch, but this team, they played the 76ers in the 7-game series. They could take them to 7 games. And it's crazy.
I believe that.
It's crazy to think about that because the things that I could say the Heat are overlooked right now because
the Heat are a real good matchup actually for the Sixers,
right? Because
the Sixers don't have outside scoring, so the Heat are going to maximize their potential to beat them because they will make 3 points on one possession most of the time, whereas the Sixers are only going to make 2. I think the Heat are a really dangerous matchup for the Sixers, and I think if you're looking at the Sixers as like the team to beat in the East, I think at the beginning of the season that's what we saw them, and they started off 5-0. They're 4-5 since then. So let's put this, Chris: are the Sixers still the team to beat in the East? They're 9-5. They're the 5th best team in the East, but they're only 2 games back of the number 1 spot. Boston and Milwaukee sit at 11-3. Both hold the best record in the East. Miami at 10-3. Toronto 10-4. Pascal Siakam really stepping up for them. But Philadelphia, they were seen as the team to beat in the East. Are they still the team to beat? Or are one of the teams ahead of them taking that spot?
I'm still rolling with the Milwaukee Bucks. Still rolling with them because
that's fair.
I'm seeing I am seeing, even though it's not a huge improvement, I am seeing a little bit of improvement in the 3-point shot. Though he shot 1 of 6 last night, but he's still shooting 32%, and taking more attempts, which is like okay, it's improving. Now I don't like that the regression of free throw shooting. It's down from last year. He's not shooting as well, but his points are still there. The rebound's still there. The assists are still there. The field goal percentage is still there as well. All that's still there, and what I've seen, they don't have Chris Middleton right now, and they're still playing well because Eric Bledsoe has stepped up.
Eric Bledsoe 28 points last night
because he has been playing a lot better this season because that was a key reason why they struggled in the Eastern Conference Finals. He did not show up.
Was not at his peak. Yeah,
if he shows up, I think they are a much better team because you get that other guy that can create his own shot because Eric Bledsoe doesn't need somebody to get him the ball. He can create his own shot, and when he's doing that and facilitating as well for others, they're a much better team. I think the bench has been up and down. It's up and down, but I do like the shooting off the bench. They have a lot. They may not have the scores, but they still have the shooters, and that's all they need, I think, because if they could just have some players off the bench if their bench could hit maybe 5 to 7 threes a game, that's all they really need, in my opinion, because that starting lineup is still great when they're healthy. Because you have Brook, you obviously got Giannis, you got Middleton, you got Bledsoe, you got Brook, and they usually change the other starting lineup person, but still.
Last night it was Wes Matthews.
Yeah, Wes Matthews.
It would be Chris Middleton, and DiVincenzo started last night.
And he's been
finally.
He's actually he's actually getting some time. He's actually played some. He's had some.
I was a real big fan of Dante DiVincenzo coming out of college, and I'm glad that he's finally getting a proper look.
They've taken time with him.
They have,
because he has his first 2 years didn't play much, but now he's getting a little more time because obviously Malcolm Brogdon's gone, and they've had injuries to
Right.
Middleton. Wes Matthews he's not always the healthiest person either, and he can be streaky. But I mean, now that they have other players getting time, and I think I still consider them a little bit over the Sixers because I don't like the Sixers don't have enough shooting and they don't have a bench. They don't have a bench. When you go to the bench, it's
James Ennis.
scarce scoring, very scarce. Yeah. They defend very well, but
They beat the Knicks last night by 5.
And
I think that's a good metric for where they're at right now.
they're so much talent, but if one player plays well, if Embiid does not play well, they just doesn't flow. Because when they were losing to the Knicks, Joel Embiid was struggling. He was only shooting 4 for 15. They were down in the fourth quarter to the Knicks. That's not a good sign because that's the worst team in the East. And I just don't. Unless their offense can get like more consistent and their bench can get more consistent, I just don't see them going past the conference finals. Like, it's just very hard for me to think, considering I think Giannis is a better player than Embiid. So it's just like the Bucks have the better player, and they're a little more balanced on both ends as a whole.
Yeah, I think it's fair. I think so look, we got Philly making noise in the wrong ways. Miami's making noise in the right ways. Milwaukee also definitely a threat. Boston and Toronto. Boston had that big 10-game win streak out the gate. So, Armond, I'm going to ask you this. Mm-hmm. Who is the team to beat in the East right now? If it's not the Sixers, is it the Heat? Is it the Bucks, like Chris said? Or is it Boston and Toronto, two teams that we really haven't talked a whole lot about?
I would have to take either Boston or 76ers, honestly. Okay. Boston, the way they played last night, that was without, Al Horford because he went to 76ers. Mm-hmm. And that's without Gordon Hayward.
That's true. Gordon Hayward has
not play. He's been hurt. So once Gordon Hayward comes back into the mix and, they start to push, they start a playoff push, then that's something to talk about. But Boston, it's crazy. They lost Kyrie. They lost Al Horford in the free agency. They signed Kemba Walker. I know he didn't play well last night, but he's still an all-star.
He's averaging 22 a game this season.
Right.
Only 4 assists. Only about 4 or 5 assists a game.
Right.
But I think, though, Kemba is a better fit in this offense than Kyrie was. Because the thing is, Kemba is not necessarily... I mean, he is a point guard, but Kyrie is a scoring guard. Kyrie usually has the ball in his hands. Kemba doesn't need to have the ball in his hands in order to succeed, which allows, with Kemba kind of taking almost like a backseat, but still a very talented player.
Right.
It opens the door for Jaylen Brown, opens the door for Jason Tatum, opens the door for Gordon Hayward. That's why I think we're seeing the best play from Gordon Hayward this season that we have seen in Boston for sure, because he finally has the chance to be close to that number one option that he was in Utah. And I think the Celtics have the best chance of being better than they were last year. Mm. So, I mean, because Toronto, they can't unless they win the championship. Philly has to make the conference finals. I think the chances of Boston getting to the conference finals is better than Philly's right now. I truly believe that. Because I think with Philly, they are going to struggle. I think that Philly has just more kryptonite than other teams. I think that the depth that Boston has is better than the depth that Philly has. I think that Boston gels just a lot better than Philly does. I think the idea with Philly, and on paper, they are the best team. Ben Simmons is one of the top 5 point guards in the league. Joel Embiid, one of the top 5 centers in the league. That team, ideally, should be the best team in the East. But why are they not? Because it just doesn't make sense on the court. Mm-hmm. I think, look, they have kinks to iron out, and I do think that they will have a chance to iron out those kinks. I think they need different pieces. I think they really miss JJ Redick. who went to New Orleans. I think they really need a guy like that, guy who can score from outside, like a microwave points. And maybe they could get that in like D'Angelo Russell or something. I don't know. Like, that's an idea. That'd be a crazy idea, I think.
Or
but
if they could sign a vet like J.R. Smith.
Or Jamal Crawford.
I
think Jamal Crawford would actually make a lot of sense for that team. So I think that they just need more scoring off the bench, outside scoring, because although Ben Simmons did make a 3 last night, you can't count on that every game, and you can't count on more than 1 from Ben Simmons in a game. We've never seen him score more than 2 threes in a game, which is a problem when you're a point guard in the NBA in 2019.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like here's biggest. I'm just gonna rapid fire recap. We're gonna do a rapid fire recap. I'm gonna throw out a question, and you guys are just gonna answer with one word.
All right.
Biggest disappointment so far. I'm gonna leave it open ended. It could be a player, it could be a team, it could be anything.
Biggest disappointment so far?
Yes.
I mean,
Chris, you got an answer?
I can't answer that right now. Let me think about it.
Give Armond some time to think.
Portland.
I agree with that. Melo signed there.
You still have Dame. You still got CJ. You still got that dynamic duo guards, and you should not be 5 and 10.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the Son Whiteside effect.
I think, yeah. Biggest disappointment so far, I would have to say, is Philadelphia. What about Armand?
I'd agree with Chris on Portland. I mean, Dame's hurt, so I mean that's the only excuse I could give them. But
most pleasant surprise so far.
Most pleasant surprise? Oh man, I would have to say my Heat. That's a pleasant surprise.
It's hard. I don't want to say the same thing. It's a great answer. I'm gonna say Houston. I did not see that. I did not see them having this great of a start.
Neither did I. But I'm gonna go with Toronto. Toronto's 10-4. They're doing it mostly with guys that have never been in like the top situation before. I know I said one word on these, but man, I gotta explain myself. They're doing it with mostly guys that were either second round picks or undrafted guys. Starting lineup last night: Van Vliet, who's an undrafted guy; Norman Powell, second round pick; Marcus All, second round pick; Pascal Siakam, late first round pick; OG Anunoby, late first round pick; Terrence Davis. Do you guys know who Terrence Davis is?
Heard of him?
Well, he had 19 points last night off the bench. Chris Boucher,
Oregon alumni,
Canadian, undrafted, 14-11 off the bench last night. Look, I think Toronto's going to surprise people. I think they're going to win a playoff series this year. I think they're good enough, and I think their chemistry is good enough too.
I mean, I knew they're going to be good. I know they're going to be playoff good, but NBA championship aspirations is going to be hard without Kawhi Leonard.
Nick Nurse, coach of the year.
It's going to be hard without Kawhi Leonard, not coming back. But I knew they'd make the playoffs again, for sure. Because the thing is that the talent, the type of guys they had on their team, they pretty much like if you look at today's league, there are nobodies. But guess what? Dude dropped 14-11. Another dude dropped 19 points.
Yeah,
and and then you have obviously you have Mark Van Fleet, Lowry, those guys that actually won it.
Love that team.
The guys that actually won the championship last season.
Yeah.
But things that Toronto,
I think they got a shot. I don't think it's going to be like. I think they got some work to do, but I think they got a shot. I'm gonna cut you off, Armand, because we got very little time left. Yeah. Last question, rapid fire, one answer. Absolutely serious on this one. Best team right now. Go.
Lakers.
I'm going to go with the Clippers. And that's all the time we have today for the Hitting the Field podcast. Thank you guys, Armand, Chris, for joining me. Armand's going to roll us back up to the top of the podcast so that we can get our intro music going. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the Hitting the Field podcast. We'll be off next week for Thanksgiving, but we'll be back in December for some HTF podcasts. We do have our main show back on Monday with Might I Add, hosted by Kyle Partain. So thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Undefeated champs, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back. Okay, always locked in, now I got time to relax. Saying he the best, he could take a lap. Batted 1,000 when you check the stats.